Welcome, friends, to another edition of Wolf Responds. I want to talk to you today about the programs emerging as the dominant economic plans and activities of the Trump-Musk regime. And I want you to understand from the beginning that what we are subjected to here, what we are viewing, what we are living through is the class struggle, class war. If anything, it's with brass knuckles added. I want to show you how that is so no one makes a mistake. No one gets lost in the weeds and misses the big picture. Here it is. I'm going to start with this program of laying off, firing, cutting government employees by the tens of thousands. Let's go through what this is. Trump and Musk are the employer. By taking over the government, they become the employer of federal workers, millions of them. And they're firing large numbers of them. So first of all, this is good because they think they can get by running the government and saving a lot of money by firing all those workers. And they promise this is good for the employers of America. Why? Because if you don't have to pay the salaries and you don't have to maintain the offices of these government workers, well, then you won't have to tax businesses to raise the money. And why would that be crucial? Because the huge tax cuts for the corporations in America passed under Trump's first presidency back in 2017, they're all scheduled to expire this year, 2025. And Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk want to be sure to extend them, to continue them, to keep them. Otherwise, the taxes on corporations would go back to what they were, much higher than they are now. So in order to get that done, he's firing lots of workers. Now, why is that good for employers? It'll save them taxes. It'll keep the tax cuts in place. But there's more. Every other worker who doesn't lose his or her or their job for the federal government has just been informed by Trump and by Musk how insecure their job is. They were sent emails. Tell us what you did last week, and if we don't hire it, you're out of here. Whoa. Many people thought, hoped, dreamed, and were told that a government job might not pay as much as a private sector job, but it came with job security. You now know, if it did, it doesn't, not anymore. The worry of the people who work for the federal government is now much more than it was 2 weeks ago, let alone last year. And all of their lives from now on are going to be different and worse out of anxiety about a job whose security has just been taken from them. Now, where do you think people will go who were public employees in the public government of the United States and lost their job or are now worried how soon they might lose their job? You know what they're all doing? And we're talking here tens, hundreds of thousands, maybe even in the millions if this keeps on. They're going to go to the private sector. Where else are they going to go? Governments are everywhere cutting back. So if you lose your job or you're worried about it and you want a job that might be more secure, you're going to go into the private sector where you're going to be desperate. The job you had in the government was also your career. You hope to rise and do better over the years. All of that's been taken from you. So you're going to look for a private sector job. And you know what you're going to do there? What always happens when suddenly large numbers of people are shifted into an area of an economy? They bid for the jobs there. The ex-government worker will offer to take that private sector job for less money or worse working conditions than what are enjoyed by the people in those private sector jobs. So if you thought you were exempt from all of this because you don't work for the federal government, think again. This is aimed at much as you as it is at the federal worker. This is a war against the working class. Public, private, white, black, male, female. I could go on. This is class war, not a war against this or that group. It's a war against the entire population. If you take the United States Census, they will tell you that 3% of Americans are employers. Those are the ones with the power to hire and fire. The other 97% of us are employees. Wow. This is a war of 3% against the rest of us. Now, here's a second way class war is going on. Trump is hitting everybody in the rest of the world with tariffs. What that means is if a good comes into the country from another part of the world, the government of the United States hits it with a tax. You got to pay for that good to come here. Then you got to give Uncle Sam a tax on top of it. It makes everything cost more. Now, let me remind you, who sets prices? The 3% of employers. Who pays them? The 97% of the rest of us. Creating something that lifts prices is doing the service for the employer and hurting the employees. You've already learned that in the last 3 or 4 years as an employer-created price increase, what we call inflation, has hurt your standard of living. Trump and Musk with the tariffs are doing more of that. That's class war. And now finally, the whole idea that those tax cuts in 2017 that benefited overwhelmingly corporations and the rich. Let's go back. The 40 years before 2017, when that tax cut was passed, was a period of time unique in American history because we redistributed wealth from the poor and the middle to the top. Never before did the richest people need a tax cut tilted in their favor. Never did they need it less than they did in 2017. It was a gift to the people who should have been giving gifts, not getting them. But that's the way Mr. Trump works. He gave them a tax cut. To get it through Congress, it stopped in 2025, this year, hoping that maybe then people would vote for it because it wasn't forever. Now he wants to make it forever, and he may push that through. And you know what that's good for? That's good for the rich and the corporations. This is class war, friends. Don't be lost in mumbo jumbo about efficiency or pushing back at foreigners or punishing the Canadians by making them the 51st state. This is about class war right here at home of the ruling class, the top 1%, the top 3%, the employer class against the employee class. And the only real question on everyone's mind as they figure it out, will the working class fight back, unify and fight back? Or will Trump and Musk be able to split it to defeat it? If conversations like this strike you as useful adjuncts to what's going on in this country at this time, then please help distribute to your friends, your neighbors, your coworkers. That's why we make these videos. And of course, as you hear me say, it costs money to do this. And if you can help us in that way, please go to our website. There are lots of ways to do it, and we will be grateful for whatever you can contribute. Thank you.